time for the press preview. But a first look at what's on the front pages of the papers, and we'll begin as usual with our sister publication, the State newspaper. It has on its front page, Tinubu, police must investigate Adamawa Guber Rerun, giving Attendant controversy. Comments polls peaceful atmosphere, congratulates Fintiri Idris. Military saved democracy, says Governor-elect, and blames APC. Received certificate of return. Lai Mohammed, why Buhari didn't interfere in poll crisis, and PDP victory's triumph of democracy. Lumelu celebrates. That picture you see there with Governor of Imo State and Iwanyanwa says Iwanyanwa becomes new Ohaneze president, and just below it, Senate presidency. Opposition party is not planning to frustrate APC leadership on zoning. A lawmaker is declaring that, and just below the logo of this day, Buhari seeks due judicial process on Ararume NNPCL matter. DMO Nigeria has not defaulted in debt repayment to China. The next paper.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch this morning. Insecurity, local rice price jumps by 200%. Let's take some riders there. MBS reports that rice price soars from 173 naira per kilogram to 521 naira per kilogram under President Buhari, despite government intervention. Rice farmers, producers, experts blame rising inflation, insecurity, and others for rice woes. The leading photo on the front of the Punch this morning. Lagos mob burns BRT bus as driver dies in a crash. Meanwhile, in Kaduna, RFI raises the alarm over insecurity ahead of May 29. Meanwhile, at the top of the Punch this morning, President Buhari returns, avoids Sudan airspace.
Onto the front page of The Guardian, the paper is focusing on the time left with the Buhari administration and what the FEC approved yesterday. It counts down, says 40 days to go. FEC approves over 100 billion naira contracts. And of course, you have pictures of the president, the vice president, and some ministers. Athletes, officials panic as National Stadium Lagos floodlight collapses. That's quite disturbing.
Yeah, quite.
Crack widens in APC over alleged misuse of 30 billion naira zoning concerns. That's the front page of The Guardian.
All right, let's look at the front page of the Daily Sun. 10th NAS leadership plot to undermine rules on ranking vikings. APC elements secretly working to allow first-timers vie for Senate President and Deputy. Attempt will fail. This is coming from one of the top-ranking senators in Dume. Oshomole joins race, commences discreet campaign. That picture you're seeing is the bus transit, a bus rapid transit colliding with a bus in Lagos State. And below that, new twist in APC crisis. Northwest Vice Chairman Lukman issues ultimatum to Adamu, the chairman, national chairman, to summon NWC on Omisore strike. NAS directs minister to halt demolition of aviation agency offices. I guess it has to do with the strike, aviation strike. Whistleblower recoveries, reps, panel queries, alleged $200 million constituency fees. Presidency attacks Otoma, accuses governor of politicizing security, and will appeal judgment voiding Ararume's removal as NNPC board chair. That is coming from Buhari.
Nigerian Tribune this morning, headline, $2.4 billion crude oil probe. Reps summon Finance Minister AGF over payment of $200 million consultancy fees. Ask CBN to provide details of payments to beneficiaries' accounts. Gridlock as driver dies in Lagos crash, BRT bus burned. Just below there, Adamawa, why Buhari did not interfere in poll debacle. That's from the federal government. Above the nameplate of the Tribune this morning, Kaduna insecurity. Bandits killed 1,266 and kidnapped 4,973 in 15 months. Some party crisis. The Labour Party crisis deepens. A Papa-led EXCO writes INEC submits list of Imo Kogi governor candidates.
To the foreign papers very quickly. Well, the Financial Times is focusing on the inflation data from yesterday. It says there's little hope for an end to the cost of living crisis.
The Times, let's look at the Times. The Times. All right. Judges lose power to block migrant flights. MPs, some conservative MPs had to fight Sunak and he had to, yield. We can beat obesity the Japanese way, Britain told. That's the Times.
The I newspaper, UK faces 5% interest rates after failing to tame inflation.
Okay, can we bring in Emmanuel Bello for the paper review? Hello, Emmanuel. Great to see you this morning, Thursday morning. Let's look at what the papers are saying. Front page of our sister publication, as usual, this day. What do you think of that story, Emmanuel Bello? Tinubu finally speaking on the Adamawa election. Some would say chaotic. I've run out of adjectives to describe that election, Emmanuel.
Controversial. I hope you can hear.
Is weighing on this matter. A lot of people will say, he has got his own situation to also deal with. His matter is in the courts now. A lot of people think or believe he didn't win that election, and that the chaos associated with the Adamawa election is something that can also be said, it's the sort of thing that happened in Tinubu's election. But of course, the jury is out, and the matter is in court now, and the judiciary will test him. But Tinubu, surprisingly playing the role of a leader, of a statesman. He's saying the sort of thing that you expect President Buhari to say. He's saying that he's condemning what happened in Adamawa. He joined everyone of goodwill who condemned that situation in the first ever civilian coup. Like some people are saying, calling it. So he's condemning it. It's profound that it's coming from him, because a lot of people will say that his situation too can be compared to that. But it's good that he's saying what he's saying, which is like, he condemns it. And he's also saying that, look, democracy should be entrenched, and the rest of that is gives you a glimmer into what kind of person he will be. Is he going to actually support injustices, or is he going to stand, with those who are speaking, talking about the right thing to do during election? The governor himself, the governor-elect, who is the current governor of the state, Fintri, saying that it's an APC problem, and that this is what APC likes to do: essentially use three things: one, federal might; secondly, judicial infractions; and three, collude with INEC to deal with states or elections. So Fintri is saying that it's an APC problem. Well, here's the leader of the APC saying that, look, he's also condemning it. So so many people will say it's an APC problem because that is the way they have run elections everywhere. They've said things like, just win by all means, just declare us by all means, let the other person go to court. It seems as if it's an APC kind of a thing. Some people will say, well, PDP perpetrated some of this before, but of course, the onus, the burden is on the ruling party to ensure that elections are done very well. So, yes, a lot of people blaming the party. Fintri, pretty much said the same thing yesterday, that it is the party that is the APC, especially at the federal level, that is perpetrating this, and that they need to look into that and change their ways. And that's what Tinubu is saying, essentially, that look, he's condemning it. So maybe under the Tinubu presidency, we're going to see shifts in the way APC likes to run election. Which is to use its federal might, and like Fintri is saying, use federal might, federal connection to give victories to people that are not supposed to be. They didn't win elections.
All right, let's look at the Sun. Sun is talking about the 10th NAS leadership, a plot to undermine rules of ranking thickens. One of the top-ranking senators in Dume is saying that this idea of trying to get new members to vie for the post of Senate President will fail. And then, of course, Oshomola is joining the race. He's commencing a discreet campaign. Then below that picture where you have that accident, new twist in APC crisis, Northwest Vice Chairman Lukman issues an ultimatum to Adamu to summon NWC on the National Secretary Omishore. Emmanuel.
Well, yes, APC is facing two serious issues now. One is the issue of those principal leadership in the National Assembly, the problem of the Senate President and zoning. Then the other is the accusation of campaign funds or other funds within the party. The leadership of the party is being accused of misappropriation. And so those are very interesting things and interesting time for a party that's supposed to be actually ramping up his base to usher in a new regime, but is still dealing with some of these problems. You know, after 8 years in power, they're still dealing with a problem of leadership as a party itself. And some people think that, well, it's a good one for the opposition, who will be able to take advantage of this internal implosion, the crisis within the party, to be able to foist a kind of leadership, that is opposition-driven in the upper chambers of the National Assembly. So that is there, and they don't seem to have a handle on the issue of zoning. Of course. Some people say that this should go to the southeast, but of course, we have other people coming from the south, and even from the north, saying that, look, this should be zoned to them and that it's about experiences, it's not about zoning, it's about what they can do. So you have all that going. Some people watching this say that at the end of the day, APC might be the loser for it because of the inability to be able to hold together its base, and determine clearly where it wants to zone, for instance, or how they want to go about it. It happened before, could happen again, that the opposition will have an edge in determining the leadership.
Emmanuel Barlow, let's take a look at The Guardian Nigeria. Keeping us in check, it says 40 days to go, FEC approves over 100 billion naira contract. Now, while the Minister of Works and Housing was responding to questions on why the government is bent on awarding contracts when the lifespan is coming to an end, he said, look, if the question is posed to Nigerians on whether these projects should be left sort of undone and transferred to the incoming administration, he said majority of Nigerians will say no, they would prefer that it comes now because of, he says, the implications of job creation and stimulating the economy. And I would like to pose that question to you, Emmanuel. What would your answer be on that question? Would you rather this project be left to the incoming administration, or is it okay or more efficient to have these contracts awarded right now, taking into context how this sort of jobs go in Nigeria and how long they take to get completed or uncompleted, really, Emmanuel?
Oh, well, yes, that's the big question, and yes, the minister might be saying, look, the minister is talking to that whole point of continuity, that government is a continuous one. But the way the Guardian newspaper, crafted that headline, say 40 days to go, kind of puts it in perspective. That look, it looks rushed. It looks as if it's those last minute kind of panic, frenzy kind of things that governments do just because they didn't get the administration right or they were not on top of their game from the start. So towards the end, and discovering that so many loose ends exist, they have all this rush thing that they are doing. So people are bound to see it from that perspective, even though, yes, the minister was talking about the fact that you need to have those things in place. A new government might decide not to even continue with those programs. But you had 8 years, to play with. You've got time on your hand at a point. But 40 days to go, and that's why the Guardian newspaper is pointing today that, look, it's 40 days to go. What else? How can you really concentrate? The government is winding down. Its actors are thinking of their next move, their next life, what to do. It's not as if much is happening. A lot of people are just thinking of their handing over dates and all of that. In the midst of that, you have this chaos of saying that you are still awarding contract or you are still trying to flag off some and all of that. So yes, that's why I think a lot of people will look at it and say, well, look, all we want to do now is get away with this old and usher in a new day if we can even find one, and just continue with our lives. So, but it's a government, like I say, from yesterday, I've been saying that this government wants to see whether it can actually, just rewrite some of its legacy, to see whether people can actually forgive it for some of the things it's done over those last 8 years. And if some of it is to actually approve of the things they're approving now, maybe they will go that route. But the truth of the matter is that the jury is out there. A lot of people have taken their stand on what this government didn't do or has done in the past. So, well, this last minute attempt at putting up a very good show of performance of a government that's done well and all that may not really, cut with the Nigerian public.
Jury's out as the Punch is reporting. Even local rice prices is jumping, and that's a report from the government agency, the National Bureau of Statistics, that is blaming insecurity, inflation, and others for the rise of the price for rice. Well, Emmanuel Bello, that's the much we can take this morning. We thank you as always. I guess that's the much we can take this morning. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello, and that's the press review. Well, let's hear your view on the burning issues. You can follow us on Twitter at Rise TV.